Today I'm here in Grace Cathedral, beautiful Grace Cathedral. Um, this is, of course, a very wonderful place to be, and it's a far cry from what you expect to be when you're coming up. But of course, my life has been somewhat unique, possibly, because I had prayers, praying. People were praying for me even before I was born. And after I was born, of course, I was taught to pray myself. And of course, it's a habit to say grace, dinner, meals. And my mother and father, of course, made me, well, they didn't have to force me, maybe, go to Sunday school every Sunday. I had to go to both family churches every Sunday, the Methodist and Baptist. The Baptist is my mother's family church, my father's Methodist. And, of course, I grew up with this kind of background. And after hearing all of this music, like some of the things Wild Bill were playing Wild Bill, it sort of gets into the system and you take it for granted. And actually, I think this had a lot to do with my musical education, which I didn't even know I had. You absorb it and you don't even know you've got it. And anyway, I come to my first recognized talent, which was painting. I was supposed to be a painter. And I won a scholarship in fine art. And by the time I finished high school, I was involved in a thing they were playing at that time. They called it jazz. So, I finished high school and said, well, I'll stay with this jazz thing for another year and then I'll pick up this scholarship. So, and every year it's been that way. Just go back. So maybe next year, I don't know. And of course I had a lot of luck. And, well, I'm a natural optimist. I always think, what do you anticipate is, it's good for you. It's got to happen or something like that. And instead I was reading in the foreword the other day where optimism is a form of religion because you believe. And it's close to a ballet I'm supposed to be writing now for the American Ballet Theater, and the subject is the river. The river is, it starts as a spring, a little childishly jumping around, and then it goes into the Rhone, which is sort of fickle, and then the meander, which is sort of hesitates here and there, and then rolls around the plateau and gets right on the edge and just on the brink of falling over, and then rolls back, and then it goes into what I call the giggling rapids, which falls into a lake, a very placid lake. And the lake, of course, is very serene and smooth, and it's lovely in the beginning, and then people come to the lake. And all this beauty. And when they meet, the people and the beauty of the lake combine, and the evening and so forth, and things that are related to possibly almost to violence come into their minds. And we find that we're even ahead of our place in the river. And this is interrelated into another one of my theories about keeping your place on the wheel, because if you get out of your place on the wheel, you'll get somebody else's luck. And it may be real good that day, but the next day you don't know what their luck will be. So if you'd have stayed in your own place, you'd have had better luck the day afterward. Something strange like that. But, it's a case of being too aggressive or too slow or something like that. Well, back to the river. The violence that comes into the mind of people when they encounter each other and the lake, of course, they say, is even greater than the violence that is possible when you are caught in the vortex of the whirlpool, which is ahead, because after the lake comes the falls, and then the whirlpool. And then you manage to get out of that, and you get into the mainstream of the river and go down the river to between the delta, and the delta, of course, has two cities, one on each side. And as usual, I mean, all rivers divide two cities. There's always a city on one side where you can get something where you can't get it in the city on the other side. And it's just like the cool city and the hot city. And then after that, the river plunges on through the delta and into the mother, Her Majesty, the sea. And of course the mother, I was explaining this to the choreographer, and I sort of frightened him at this point, because I said, well, you know, when the river gets into the ocean, I said, it's no longer a river. I said, that is a point of disembarkation. And when it gets there, it is in the mother, and the mother is going to give birth to it again, and it's going back up into the air, and it's going to come back in mist and rain and snow, and then it's either sort of break through under the land and break through and come up in a well somewhere and start a new spring. And then I said to him, do you realize this is the foundation of religion? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, this is the heavenly anticipation of rebirth. And it really scared him. And for a minute, I don't know whether he's going to do it or not. He didn't, I don't know whether he felt ineligible or something, or whether he was ready for this or something. And anyway, he's a wonderful man, great choreographer, and I think he will. I hope he will. I'm an optimist after all. And if you're an optimist, and then, you know, you've got to believe that, well, you just got to believe. And I don't know, I've gotten into, this career of mine has taken me up to the point where 5 years ago I was playing down in Redwood City, and a place, I forget the name of it, and Reverend Canon Yayan and Dean Bartlett came down one night to tell me that they would like for me to come up. They'd heard some of the things I'd done, you know, earlier with, oh yes, I didn't tell you about that part. Well, I have done things earlier, like back in the 20s, I've done a thing called, I forget the name of it, it was this is the way it was.